a lot of people getting a little bit overexcited or a little bit too depressed right now. I've noticed it with Steeler fans after losing in Chicago, Patriots fans. You talk to most Patriot fans, at least. I've talked to a couple who've said, Dave, it's not all of us. We still think that this team goes to the Super Bowl out of the AFC. But a lot of people are throwing dirt on them, as though, I'll tell you, who's chief among them? The sports guy, Bill Simmons. He's one, and let the record show that Simmons, this is what he does. He sandbags about the Red Sox are done. I can't wait for football season. But he'll be right at the front of the line if they win, right? There should be some sort of standard against that. And while I'm on the subject of the sports guy, something I've gotten a ton of emails about and inquiries about is, did I hear his podcast this week with Cousin Sal? Apparently the name Dameshek came up in the conversation. Did you happen to catch that, the Sass?
I did not.
Oh, you aren't aware of it? Mm-mm. Oh, yeah. I guess
what happened?
I guess the sports guy, he came down from Mount Pius for a second or two to weigh in on the way that I put together my fantasy football team, the Kool Kats. Or should I call them the first place Kool Kats? Or should I put it as the first place Kool Kats ranked ahead of the sports guys' woeful bunch? However you want to call it, the Kool Kats are just fine. But like I say, Simmons thought that first of all, what's the upshot of this thing? He and Cousin Sal got into the fact that I'm lucky. Simmons is really the one who pushed this thing. That I'm lucky because I drafted Pierre Garçon. That when I drafted him when we got together a few weeks ago to draft this thing, that everybody laughed when I said Pierre Garçon, the second to last round of the night. Everybody scoffed. Is that right, sports guy? I don't remember it that way. I remember you saying, who? I don't know who he is. And of course, if the sports guy doesn't know who he is, then he must not exist, right? It must be a terrible pick. If the sports guy with his deep research doesn't know who he is, then he must not be a real guy. He must be a joke of a pick then. No, it was you and Kyle the hippie. Those are the two people who said, who is that? Who is Pierre Garçon? I don't know about that pick. That's a bad pick. Shaq's drafts fall apart at the end of every draft because he gets drunk. Listen, drunk. Hey, listen, teetotaler. Yeah, we were there. It was going on 3.5, 4 hours. Everybody patting themselves on the back for how great their respective team is gets a little tiresome. So maybe I did have 2 belts over the course of the night. Yeah, I was somehow that translates into, for him, me being loaded. And by the way, again, what's the upshot of that? Pierre Garçon is a lucky pick. The guy who, when the season started, was the third wide receiver. And we're not talking about the Baltimore Ravens. We're talking about the Colts, who throw the ball a lot. Anthony Gonzalez, I seem to recall, put together some pretty nice numbers as the third receiver. And before that, Brandon Stokely didn't do half bad either. So is it a bad pick to take the third receiver on the Indianapolis Colts? That's an absurd pick. Now I'm lucky because Anthony Gonzalez hurt his knee and is out for a few weeks. That's an insane pick that at the end of my draft that I took this guy.
No, it's not an insane, it's not a lucky pick, nor insane. You were a little fortunate that Anthony Gonzalez got injured, but it was a skillful pick. I mean,
oh, careful
look.
you. No, right. Yes, it was at the end of the draft.
I'm on your side on
right,
this. Yeah.
All that was left for me was to fill the kicker slot. So I took a kicker in the last round. Just before that, I took a flyer on the guy who was a second-year receiver. Who, by the way, I know it's again completely obscure that anyone would have heard about this, but Anthony Gonzalez said to the media, listen, don't take me in fantasy. Take Pierre Garçon. He's going to have a huge year this year. I'm sorry you didn't come across that, sports guy. But the fact of the matter is, the guy who was second on the depth chart was talking about Pierre Garçon. I'm sorry you missed that, and therefore it makes me ridiculous because you're not aware of that. Guess what, sports guy? I got something for you right here. Let me give you a little consolation prize. Jack!
Ooh,
one more. Jack!
Trading fantasy barbs and Han Solo Edition blaster laser beams.
Yeah,
is that what they're called? Laser beams?
No, they're not called that.
Bullets?
No, it's a blaster.
Energy rays?
It's a blaster for not knowing your details. That's for you too, the Sass. I don't like